another episode, Guerilla Filmer Podcast, episode 3. 2 episodes are out right now, and we're keeping this thing rolling day by day, and still sticking to the bi-weekly schedule. Every other Sunday, a new episode will post for the foreseeable future. And never know, things pick up. And people start coming a little bit more frequently. We might move that to weekly, to possibly daily, as this show grows and we start having guests and, more things happening instead of me sitting here running my mouth to everybody. But welcome you again to those of you who are tuned in. Eventually, my listeners on whatever podcast platform you're on, when those are available, and everybody who's watching on YouTube, if you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video to somebody who may need this information. And to everybody watching me on my Facebook page at Guerilla Filmer, my J Lockridge Director Facebook page. Make sure that you like and follow the page, share this video, and engage with the content so that this internet algorithm will show favor and hopefully introduce me to some new people. These numbers and stuff, they help to grow and help me to bring more content, so I'm just not here blabbing my mouth in front of this microphone for nothing. So those of you who are actually looking forward to it, I appreciate it, and I'm glad you're here today. So on this particular episode, we're talking about casting your low budget film. I know a lot of filmmakers starting out, some who've been doing it for a while, kind of have difficulties finding the right cast for their projects. And we're going to talk about it. Sometimes you have to kind of be a little loose on your vision, especially when you're in the low budget range. You're already limited to the type of cast that you can have for your film. So sometimes being too strict on a vision, you kind of hinder yourself before you even get started. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to get that film of yours off the ground with the people who are perfect for it. Or, if they're not perfect, they are, good enough to bring your vision to life. So we're going to talk about that. First, you have to build a resume. And what I mean by that is, very, very rarely will you have people beating down the door to be in your film if they've never seen anything you've done. If you've never shot a film before, you're probably going to have your hardest time casting your film. A lot of actors out here are, looking for opportunities. They're wanting to work, but they're not going to waste their time. And with this explosion of filmmakers, technology is making it so much easier to shoot a film. And with this explosion of filmmakers, you have a lot of people who are, thinking they can do this, and they're finding out how hard it is, and they're wasting a lot of actors' time. And you have a lot of actors who've been burnt by that, and they're very skeptical, especially with new filmmakers, submitting to their work. So you kind of have to build your resume. You may have to start that first film of yours with family and friends. And going back to one of my previous episodes, you have to write with that in mind. if you know this is your first film, you don't need to write for a huge cast. You need to start that thing very small and build that thing to the way that maybe it revolves around two characters or one character, even better if you can. You don't want to write yourself into a hole and doom the project before it even starts, because if you know it's your first film, unless you have a huge network, you've been networking and working behind the scenes and building those relationships, and you know that you have a cast available to assist you on your project, you need to keep it small. And every project is a building block, and you start to build that resume the more blocks you have. So you need to think of it that way. Friends and family, and you don't want to have these big dramatic pieces knowing that you might possibly have to cast friends and family. You want to make it as seamless as a process as possible. So you may have to start off with friends and family, and even then, once you get a couple short films under your belt, you still may have a hard time having people just wanting to be, or finding the actors that you think you should have for your project. So another good thing to do is network online. Get in some of these film groups, talk and network with people, build relationships. Some of these online groups are plentiful with people. And you can kind of learn from other people's casting call what type of information needs to be in yours, and just collaborate and work with people. Film festivals is a great place to meet fellow actors. If you have an acting school or acting classes, you can meet some actors there. You just have to find places to network, and network is a way that you can build relationships, and people who didn't know you before, they may feel comfortable helping you out. You do find actors who just love acting so much that they may take a shot on somebody. They might have a free weekend. Hey, they might come by and be a part of your project, but you have to network and meet people. And you know, I say that like it's easy. I'm, a introverted person myself, so I have, excuse me, issues going out there and just networking sometimes. Film events, things that I'm interested in, is usually a lot easier for me because everybody there's talking my language. But you do have to put yourself out there. You have to, especially if you're trying to do this thing for real, you have to put yourself out there and find like-minded people. And you have to build a good reputation when you do. Um, I know quite a few filmmakers um, that's, let me see, completed one project years and years ago, never seen the light of day. Recently, a couple years ago, completed another project, and you see actors commenting all the time, hey, what happened to that project? Are we ever going to see that project? So you always want to have a good reputation of somebody who's going to see it through. You don't want to be one of these people who blows hot air all the time. You talk a good talk, but when it's time to follow through, you rarely do. If you're the type of person that's always restarting, or you've been working on the same project for years and years, you're not going to find people to submit because you can't even finish what you started. So you need to have that good reputation. You need to have a good reputation for how you treat people. Treating people on set is key. You have to know how to treat people. You got, if it's from the way you talk to them, to the type of environment that you have them in. You can't just go to unsafe environments. You got to have them in great environments. Whenever you have your set, sometimes you might have to have set where you have it, but you need to be open and forewarn them, and try your best to make wherever your location is um, acceptable and safe for your actors. And you just need to have a reputation, that you're a good person to work with um, when it comes to making these films. And you also have to know that every actor is different. Um, when you're working with low budget, you know, films and you're casting mostly amateur actors, and you may be casting more, professional end actors as well, who's have a lot of credits under their belt. They've been doing this. Um, you have to know how to treat everybody fair, but you know, direct direct them to the way they need to be directed, if that makes sense. Um, recently, on a project, I my leads, the script is all they needed. You barely have to direct them. And a few other actors, you kind of have to get what you need. You kind of have to, you know, direct it a little bit more. You have to be more direct with them as far as what you want. Because all actors aren't the same. You have different experience levels, you have different talent levels, and you want to direct them accordingly, and um direct them without disrespecting them is key too. It's it's more than just getting on set and thinking that you're about to sit in the big director's chair and just make. It's all about how you talk to people. It's all about relationships. It's all about effectively communicating to getting your vision accomplished. So you want to direct people to get what you want, and sometimes you have to know if you're going to get what you want. um Going back to my experience, it was a scene where I needed something particular, and that person just wasn't giving it to me. And the more I tried to communicate this, hey, I needed this certain way, the more I just wasn't getting it. And you kind of have to realize that you know the more I push, the more this situation may get agitated, or I'm just going to tire this person out and still not get the performance that I want. You just kind of have to be able to pivot. I mean, the whole thing with low budget filmmaking is having the ability to adapt and pivot. That's how you survive. Um, I say low budget, but it's filmmaking period. You have to have the ability as a director to adapt, or you will not survive this business, because something unexpected is always going to happen. um on this particular film, um I had it cast already, but that actress um couldn't make it. Something happened there, so I had to recast. And you know having to recast so quickly, I wasn't 100% sure, but from other works I was like, I shouldn't have a problem with this certain actor. So we get on set, and the scene, I need the scene done a certain way, because if the emotions in this scene is not correct, the whole scene is pretty much useless. I mean, it has to work, and it's a basic emotion. It's something that everybody should be able to do rather seamlessly, I thought. And the more we kept going, another take. All right, try it like this. Okay, imagine this, and then try it. Just different ways of trying to get this performance out of this actor. And I just realized it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna have to think of something different here in order to keep this ball rolling. And you have to have that ability working with certain people, or you're gonna let your ship sink. You need to be able to have that ability to pivot. And that's with anything. A location might not come up, or you might have to do something different in a certain location that you wrote it to fit this type of location. Like, you always have to have the ability to change whatever it is that you see in order to, benefit the totality of the project. So you got to know how to direct different actors. Some actors, I have a few that I work with, and and that's the reason why I work with them, is because it's seamless. They know as soon as they see the words and how I write them, how I want it done, and I don't have to direct them. It's so much more easier, um, especially when I have to shoot quickly, when I have to be in and out of a location. Sometimes these location owners are giving me like 2 hours. Hey, I got to open the shop in 2 hours. So you got 2 hours of nobody being in here before you had to get all this done. So we might have to get 4 or 5 scenes done within those 2 hours. And I can't have people I've never worked with before, or, people that I'm not sure how they work in a situation that tight, when I know, I can't, um, go through all that I need to go through with somebody with corrections and etc. So a lot of times when I work with the same people, it's because things are going so quick and I don't have time to have to direct you out of it. And when you build this rapport with certain actors, it just, things click. They know how you work, they know how you want your dialogue, they know how you like to have those, beats between certain things. They know how, you know, you like your things done, so it all rolls smoother. And that's just constantly goes with working with people. You have to build that rapport, build that relationships with certain people, and know who you're working with. Certain actors have certain strengths. You have to know these things. You have to study these things. So I suggest you do that whenever you're casting your projects. What does your project need? What does this character need? If this character, is a little bit more complex than this other character, you might want to put your seasoned, more, you know, experienced actor in those roles. And you don't want to get married to the thought of what you write on that page. Um, Within context, you might want to let whoever you cast, bring something new to it. You never want to write so, specific that, if you don't get that specific thing, that it just, you know, ruins it for you. You have to kind of leave it open because, you know, in this low budget realm, our pool is small. It is. You can't go and say, "Hey, I want Leo DiCaprio for this, or Denzel for this, Kate Winslet for this." You can't go and no, you can't do that. So you kind of have to, have a vision for it, but leave it open for interpretation by that actor. Let them know what you expect, but they may shock you, they may surprise you and give you something a little bit better than what you were looking for. So, keep that open whenever you're casting, and ask other directors. Whenever you're looking to cast a project and you have some people interested, or you're interested in some people, ask other directors, how does this person, work? How's this person on set? How's this person with, taking direction? How's this person this? How's this person that? Check references. This is it's basically a job, so check your references. You kind of want to know, especially if you haven't worked with that person before, who you're dealing with. So I suggest you always check, look back at that person's, hopefully they have IMDb, and you just look back at, directors they worked with. And, a lot of times directors will be, if they didn't have a pleasant time with that person, they'll tell you. And in the same vein, you have to know that it's two sides to every story. But if 2 or 3 directors are telling you this person's a little bit difficult to work with, 2 or 3 directors, I'm pretty sure don't have personal vendettas against the same person. Like, that person has a, a history of having this type of behavior. So you want your sets to run smoothly. You have so many people, collaborating already, for low or no money. You want to have a fun set. and you want to have a professional set, and you want to have a safe set. So, sometimes you have to put that work in beforehand to make sure everybody has a pleasant experience and you keep your reputation. Another thing that happens is, the ability to compensate. Um, a lot of us out here are self financing. Like myself, I self finance my productions. And you want, I know me personally, I always want to compensate my actors. I appreciate them for being a part of my productions. And all of my productions have different budget levels. Most of the time I defer my own payment. I'm the director, the writer, cinematographer, the editor, uh, the producer, and I defer my own payments. And on a general production, that's maybe 75% of the payroll per se. So that's how I'm able to film the way I film, because I do most of the jobs and I just defer myself. You know, um, my thing is with ownership. So when I have ownership of that project, um, it's possible that one day I may see, you know, all all of my money on the back end. So you want to try to find ways to compensate your actors, even if it's fuel, if it's real footage. You want to stick to that, and you want to be open to that. Whenever you have your casting calls, or whenever you approach an actor about this, you want to be, look, I just want to let you know before we even start, um, I I don't have the budget to pay you, or you know, all I have is real footage and a meal or whatever. You need to be straight up. So, if that person's not interested, you don't have to waste any more breath. You don't have to get there explaining the project, because if that person wants pay, you're wasting your breath. So you want to be upfront from the jump. And usually whenever I write my casting calls in the compensation part of it, I, I I make it clear whatever it is. If it's paid, I usually tell them it's paid, and we'll discuss that when I offer the role. And I usually, here in Tennessee where I stay, which is technically a right to work state, I usually try to pay, you know, just over minimum wage. That's me personally. Where you are, minimum wage may be different, but I would usually try to stick within that minimum wage and calculate 8 hours and let that be your day rate. And you know, that's how you have to do it, especially when you're extremely low. And like you're talking with me, when I defer all of my payment, most of my projects are getting done with a couple grand. So that's about all you can pay. Like, still, I would have producers still tell me, even if you defer all your pay, that's not enough money to pay your cast. Like, you need to take and put that money elsewhere toward food and etc., which is true. And I still do that, but I try my best to compensate my actors in some way, shape, or form. And usually, you know, that's acceptable. Most actors, if working for that low is something that they um aren't cool with, they're not submitting to your projects anyway. They're not looking at lower budget projects anyway, just to be honest with you. But the ones who are the ones who do want to be a part of your projects, you need to take care of them the best you can. Even if you can't pay, if your budget is just that low, at least have ways to feed them, have ways to give them money for their gas for coming to your production. Um, you know, I don't give real footage until my project is released or on the verge of being released, because I've had bad instances where the actor get their real footage and start posting it all online. Um, but you need to be the type of person that gives that real footage. And even if you do, just have the parameters and make sure that those parameters are known. Look, this is only for your actors access or your demo reel to be shared between casting directors, not shared online and all this and that. You need to be open about that. And, you need to just have creative ways to, you know, compensate your actors. They live in the shadows. I've mentioned this before. It's one of my films, and actually, at this point, one of my most successful films. Same method, deferred all of my payment because, hey, it's coming out of my own pocket anyway. And I need to get this film made, and I did that film with $500. Housed the actors at my house. It was two actors mostly in that film. Housed them at my house for the duration of while we shot that film. So that cut out on lodging cost. Most of that money went to food. Um, you know, like I said, it's two actors. First off, you have to write your script. I always go back to write your script for your budget. You got to keep all that in mind. Mostly two actors for the majority. So feeding two actors keeps your costs low. Um, and the location was a good friend of mine, so the location was free. So I didn't have to pay for it. So it's mostly just gas to get to set. They're riding with me in my car to set. They're housed at my house. I had it planned ahead of time to have my kids go down my mother's house and house the actors in my house, and feed them while they're here. And we had a great time. And even then, I still wanted to actually pay them. I'm real, you know, big on trying to compensate them some way when I can. So what I came up with is I knew I wanted to have a screening for the film, a premiere per se. So I told both of them, I'm going to pay to rent this theater, uh, pay for some promotion, posters and such. And after I get that money back for my expenses on that, you two split the proceeds from the premiere 50-50. All right. Um, so we almost sold that screening out. I want to say it was a 140 seat theater, and I think we got around 115. So, 115. I want to say the tickets were maybe $15. After I got, my expenses, couple $100 to rent it, $100 or two for flyers and stuff to promote it, they split the rest. And I think it was a pretty good, little piece of change that they got. But from the jump, I'm like, look, I can't pay you up front. We can defer that to the screening. And that's the way I was able to pay my actors when I made the film with a $500 budget. So you have to be creative sometimes in certain ways. Um, you know, Premiere screenings are great ways to pay your actors back. You're selling these tickets. People are getting that first look. They're excited to see whatever you've done. And once you get back what you've paid to rent the place, just split that amongst your actors, especially if you have a extremely low budget on the front end to where you have to put money towards supplies, props, and meals. And that way it keeps everybody, happy. Your actors feel like you actually, um, you actually, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say cherish, but that's not the word I'm looking for. That you actually appreciate. Great one. That you actually appreciate what they did for you. So just find ways to, you know, compensate them. And even if you can, if you're doing a film with absolutely no money, like no money, most of your talent who is attached to that project, should know this guy's doing this with no money. We want to act. We love to act. We're acting. Just make sure that their experience on your set is a fun and pleasant one. But you should always, if you have it, try to compensate them. But I'm talking here under $10,000 budgets because I'm a unicorn. Some other people, the crew makes, without the crew, there is no film. Without actors, there's no film. But, in the pegging order of importance, if you don't have a cameraman, you ain't recording nothing. Don't have a sound man, you ain't recording nothing. You can do without script supervisors and all this other stuff, but cameraman, sound man, their day rates, without them, nothing's getting done. And then you need your actors in that pegging order. And a lot of times the first two is taking up all the money. Just being real with you. So you have to, communicate with whoever it is that you're casting for that project so that there's no confusion. You want to eliminate the confusion on the forefront and let them know, it's no need to be secretive. There's no need to be secretive. If you're broke, tell them you broke, but we're going to get this thing done and I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. And I've heard, the thing come across before about offering, ownership as a compensation. And in a way, that may work. It just matters how your production is. The way I work, that doesn't work for me. For one, because like I said, I'm deferring everything because I'm doing everything. And then, I'm depending on one day, hopefully seeing some of that back by my projects streaming or whatnot. Until this day, out of all of my projects, the only project that has paid itself back is They Live in the Shadows. The only project that has turned a profit of mine is They Live in the Shadows. Closed caption, one of my worst performing projects. Smith is doing okay, but the budget for Smith was, even with deferring all of my stuff, the budget for Smith was about $5,000. And as small as that is, I haven't seen that back. Down bad, haven't seen that back. So you have to see, like I'm putting a lot of risk into my projects. So the talk of ownership or giving ownership is not a logical one. For one, there's a lot of paperwork to make sure that's happening, and to do that the right way, you have to do that from the start. Set up an LLC just for that project. Make sure all this is divided. You have to. No, it's not a logical way to do that. And I would tell most people to deter from that unless the actor or whoever it is involved from the very forefront, and you forming this film together to the way all that is divvied up right. The DP maybe, hey, I'll defer my payment for points on the film and all this and that. That's talk that happens well ahead. So the ownership thing that I see floated around a lot is not logical. Because a lot of filmmakers won't see that money back. Just because you see such and such film on Amazon or even Hulu. I've heard of filmmakers getting their film on Netflix and Netflix paid $10,000 for them. And a lot of times they barely paid back an investor with that. Just because they're on these major platforms don't mean that that filmmaker has a lot of money or is making a lot of money. So you have to be cautious of that. And the more you work, when especially you know how we work, the low budget filmmaker again. I got to keep emphasizing that because you'll have people with 50, 60,000, $100,000 budgets, disagreeing with some of the stuff that I'm saying, but I'm talking 10,000 and under here, low to no budget filmmakers who are trying to get this thing off the ground with nothing. We kind of have to work differently. Like I said earlier, I work fast. I have to work fast because I don't have all the time in the world to work at a lot of these locations, and sometimes this and that happens. Um, so I depend on a lot of the same actors. And you'll have, you know, some actors get angry at that because they want opportunities. They want to work too, and they're seeing the same people work over and over and over again in the same projects. And I get it. You know, it's harped upon that, it's so cliquish. And a lot of these filmmakers have their cliques, and they're not offering these opportunities to other actors here and there. But especially on that sub $10,000 range, it's a reason for that. Case in fact, I've spoke on it many times before, but the film that's currently out, my latest feature film, Succuba. Let me turn. I'm going that one that's right, wrong shoulder, over that shoulder right there. You can barely see it, but Succuba right now. It's out on Amazon, Apple TV, Tubi soon. Shameless plug. That's the first ad you're gonna get. But we keeping this thing rolling. But right there, cast. I'm usually the type of person I do all those tips that I just gave you. Cast that project, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna stop casting, all the same people. I'm gonna go outside of my comfort zone per se." Keith Johnson, as you can see on the poster behind me, and Keetrick are my leads, as you can see. I've worked with both of them before. I know how they work. I know they're professional. So I was comfortable with them as my leads. Usually, I'm going to give my lead roles to people that I know of or have worked with before. That's a big investment. A big investment of time and the little money that I have. So 9 times out of 10, unless it's something so specific that I need a certain person for, my leads, I've worked with them before. But this one role, it's the wife of one of the characters. I said, I'm going to go outside the box. I'm going to work with this one person or approach this person about a role that I've never worked with before because I hate casting calls. I just don't have the time or the team to, look through all of those emails and go and do these casting calls and callbacks. I just don't have it. So I usually go directly to people when I cast my projects. So I went to this one person, cast them. They were happy about it, excited to have the role. We talked thoroughly about this and that in the script, accepted it. They're ready to shoot. Posted it on their page, excited about it. Started emailing. One of the actors, is messaging them, "Hey, you want to get together and rehearse a little bit to kind of go over lines? We're scene partners, so I just kind of want to, communication is kind of scarce. Wasn't returning messages, text or whatnot to that particular actor, but was responding to me at the time. Everything seemed okay. Come the week of production, um, maybe hadn't heard from the person. We've had some Zoom rehearsals. Um, this person didn't show up for the Zoom rehearsals. I say show up, log in for the Zoom rehearsals. So, I've been through this before. I haven't had a production yet that I haven't been stood up on. So I kind of have that gut instinct, spidey senses per se, when it comes to stuff like this. So, didn't show up for the Zoom rehearsal. We had a second Zoom rehearsal, didn't show up for it. Log in. Week before, I'm like, hey, you didn't come on the rehearsals like you said you would. I haven't heard from you. Just want to make sure, everything's on the up and up. Didn't hear anything back. So now I'm seeing where this is going. So we get to set, we're shooting. Like day one is here. My photographer that I have on set, I mean, just a sweet soul. And the next day is a scene when I need this character to be here. And I'm like, I don't have a good feeling. Crazier things have happened. I've worked with some unprofessional people. She may show up, call time tomorrow. But would you mind reading for this role just in case that doesn't happen? And she did. She was elated to. Told her which role. She went home that night, read it, came that next morning, read it. And what I thought was going to happen was this person was going to show up, no communication whatsoever, ready to go, which is cool. But I had a backup plan just in case. But of course, this person didn't show up. This person's on social media out having a good time. Like they didn't know they were supposed to come on set. Didn't confirm the days to come on set and reconfirm the days they were supposed to be on set. Out having a good time. It was just on social media like. So, but we went on without a glitch. Although the person I cast wasn't my vision. And the reason I cast this role was for a specific reason, because I didn't want certain perceptions for the role, because I know people look at stuff way deeper than they should. And I didn't want this perception to be, put out there. But in order to keep from losing the days that I've rented for a house that I probably wasn't going to get back no time soon, I had to make that decision and pivot off of that vision. So you will have to do that when you're met with situations like that. Because if I had been so stubborn to stick to what I've wrote or what I had in mind, I would have tanked this production. When everybody else is here, dedicated, committed, doing what they're supposed to do. And I wasn't going to let one person, nullify all the work they've put in. So I adapted, we made it work. And in my opinion, we have a good film to show for it. But that is the reason why I'm very hesitant when it comes to working with new people. Because that happens almost every time when I work with somebody I haven't worked with before. This person has been in plenty of productions. And that's one of the reasons I reached out to him. I've seen him in plenty of productions. So I'm like, well, this ain't a first-time actor. This person is a working actor, worked in plenty of productions. I should be able to depend on him. Almost got burnt. And although I understand the click ideology, like people saying, oh man, these opportunities, this and that, you have to understand when most of these filmmakers are making the films out of their money, that is an investment that they cannot lose. That is like throwing money down the drain. We rent these houses. They aren't cheap. A lot of times these location owners, It's one and done. You might not be able to come back. So many things working against us in this low budget realm. We need people we can depend on. So when you see Keith Johnson in a lot of my projects, when you see Jeff Halterman in a lot of my projects, Everett Anderson, Dre, Keedrick, Nicole, Shondell, Chris, Larry, when you see all these people over and over and over again, it's because I know that 100% of the time it'll take a hospital bed to keep them from showing up to set. And when they show up, I'm going to get 100%. I've had actors show up to set and you could tell in their performance that they read lines right when they pulled up. They have spent zero time with the character. If I asked them, what is your character's motivations? Who is your character? What is your character about? They couldn't tell me. Because they didn't look at that script until they pulled up 20 minutes before set, trying to memorize it, depending on their talent. Because they're talented, but they depend solely on their talent, spend no time with the work. So, that shows on the performance. And when you have actors that you can trust, are going to give it their all, who are dedicated and professional, I encourage you to continue working with them. Adam Sandler, Tarantino, major directors and filmmakers do it. So I will, the click stuff, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. When it comes to my money and throwing it down the drain, because, and I'm not going to let that hinder me from working with new people. I'm not. But I'm going to have to work with you before I give you a lead in my projects. It's just too much of an investment that I'm willing to take. Because like I said, this low budget realm is hit and miss. It is an absolute miracle whenever you finish a film. Every film finished for under $10,000 is a miracle. Under $20,000 is a miracle, because anything can go wrong and set that whole thing off track. So if you have people that you work with and you're comfortable working with them and you can depend on them, it is what it is. Don't let nobody deter you from that. But keep an open mind. Do keep an open mind. And when you're casting these low budget films, I promise you, if you listen to these tips, build your resume, continue to work, improve your craft. Because you have some directors out there, they work, but it's more about quantity than quality. They don't care about improving. It's all about making movies. It's like it's a race. And, sometimes if you're an actor watching this, if you're acting in every little thing that every little single thing that you can, it could be harmful to you. Because if they see you in these bad projects over and over and over again, and you may not have the material to show your range, but you're constantly in these bad projects, another director is going to think you're a bad actor. So when you submit to whatever casting call or whatever film, or you go to audition, you already got a bad stigma on you because they see you in all these horrible movies all the time. And, we're all growing, but whenever you just never see improvement, in your projects, that goes to the next thing, is your reputation as a director. I'm talking now. So if you're having a hard time finding, anybody, skilled actors, anybody other than a first-time actor looking for opportunity, you might want to check your reputation. How is your work? Are you improving? you know, that may be something there. So build your reputation. Build your resume first. Then, build your reputation as a filmmaker who puts it all into their projects, who's improved from every project to the next. Network. Find people to work with. Know how to direct. Every actor is different. You can't direct them all the same, but you have to treat them all fair. Ask around. Ask other directors, how is this person? How is it to work with this person? And in some form or fashion, compensate your actors. If it's fuel and real footage, even if it's small pay is some pay, but make it fair. Don't get over on them if you have the ability to compensate them. And if you have a group of people that you're comfortable working with, that word they say, clicks. Oh, well, what the hell? That's the way I put it. It's your money. Most of the time, we put our own money in this, our own hard-earned money that we could be going on vacations and buying clothes and getting cars fixed with. We're doing it because we're addicted to doing this stupid thing called making films, this risky, stupid thing called making films. And if you're using your own money, that we're basically, really, if you think about it, we're just throwing it in garbage because you don't know what, if anything, is going to come out of this. Work with people that you can trust and depend on. And those are my tips when it comes to casting your low budget film. I think I had some good tips in there. It works for me. And I am working on my 9th film. I have yet, knock on wood, I have yet to cancel a film that I've started. Following these tips. My first film, Family and Friends, Hardman County, 2009. My second film, Betray. Still a few family and friends, but I had an actor cast in there. So starting to move on up here. My third film, Hongo. I did a casting call for that one. Had some actors submit and cast some actors from those submissions. My next film was They Live in the Shadows. Same thing. 2 actors I've never worked with before. Cast them on that one because they've seen my work prior. And it just kept getting better. You follow those tips, I promise you, what all you're doing is building a reputation. Like I said, you're building a resume, you're building a reputation. And you will attract the talent for your projects. And you want to have a good reputation. All right? You want to know how to treat your actors. You want to treat them right, treat them fair. You want to compensate them in some way. Let them know that their time is appreciated. Have a safe environment for them. And I promise you won't have problems the more you go along. You have people, hey, next time you have a project, they want to be on the list. They want to work with you. And that's a good place to be. So, the tips work for me. You can pull and pick all you want to. And, I think they'll be successful for you, for those of you who work in this lower tier of budgets, low to no budget range. So I've blabbed on long enough. It's about my longest yet, but I think that was some pretty good information to get out there. And, let's all get out here and lift this community, lift the quality, lift this community of low budget, filmmaking. So this stigma is not as strong as it is, because you can make some good stuff with low to no budget. But here lately, people are using low budgets as a reason not to make good stuff. But let's reverse that. Let's all grow together and start making bigger, better projects. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Once again, if you're watching this on my YouTube, please subscribe, like, comment, engage, so that algorithm can show favor, get some more eyeballs in here, and hopefully, we can grow this channel, start having some more people on, other directors, so you won't think that, I'm just talking out my head here. Let you hear it from some other directors who are dealing with some of the same issues. If you're on Facebook, like and follow the page, share the video to somebody who might need some of this information, and let's all grow together as filmmakers. And I am Jerron Lockridge. I am the Guerilla Filmer himself at the Guerilla Filmer Podcast, episode number 3. And I will see you in 2 weeks on Sunday, dropping bi-weekly on my Facebook and YouTube page. And let's all go out here and make some great films. And until then, I'm out.